Hi everyone, it's Dina here. I'm back today doing another demo using some Lavinia stamps. Don't quite know where I'm going with this, so I hope it sort of turns out okay. I do know that I am going to sort of focus on this stamp here. Now I think I might have only just used him the once, and I can't even remember what I did with this one. This is Herbalum Baz. I think there's 3 in this collection, all very similar. I could be wrong, there might only be 2, I can't remember now. I've only got 1 in this out of the collection. I think I was particularly drawn to the one with the fork. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to try and use him along with a few of the newer stamps as well. I will sort of try and say what they're called as I go, but I do apologise if I forget. I'm going to try and use some of the Elements inks as well. I'm just sticking with Sahara, probably Pixie Green, not too sure yet, but definitely Bermuda. I love this colour. I'm just grabbing my blending brushes out. Right, I'm going to start by just draw. I'm sort of going to be working in a bit of a circle today, and I'm just going to sort of draw a rough circle in the centre. I've got a mask here. I think I might have even cut this one out. So you can buy these hunky-dory Mylar sheets. Sorry, there's probably lots of reflection there. And if you've got any circle dies, you can just cut out the size masks that you want. This is great stuff. I've sort of cut a couple out, but yeah, and I've cut some sort of landscape scenes out of them. But yeah, I definitely recommend them. Right, so I'm just going to place that in the centre roughly and draw sort of a very light pencil line around that circle. Put that to the side. Right, and now don't forget with these, they are very, very juicy. Let's put it that way around so I can work with it a bit better. So I always tend to dab the ink off in the lid if I can, just because I think it's sort of, you know, you can use up what's in the lid then. So this is Sahara. And I think I'm going to start with the yellow sort of in the centre of this one. So I'm just lightly colouring the middle there and sort of blending that yellow out. Let's pick some more ink up. Right, I think we'll stick with that. I've lost a few bristles from that brush then. I think actually I might just stick to using the Bermuda. I really love this green, it's such a lovely colour. Again, I'm just going to, each time I sort of go into that ink pad, I'm just dabbing that ink off, you know, in the lid, because it is very, very juicy and you don't want to sort of ruin your project by going straight from the ink pad to the card. So I'm going to colour sort of right to the edge on this one and blend it into that yellow. A bit heavy with that ink then when I came in, so I'm just dabbing as much as I can off. As you can see, I've got quite a lot on my brush at the moment, so I'm just concentrating on around the edge while I've got a lot on, and then I shall bring that in. I will probably sort of go around all the edge and just darken it up a little bit, just so it's a bit more sort of keeping all the way around. So we're nearly done with the lighter green, but I said I will just darken all the edges up just a little bit, just so it's a bit more sort of, you know, the same as this here. Add some more ink in there. There we go. That's a bit better. I'm losing a few bristles. So these brushes that I'm using are actually the Royal, is it Lanicle or something? I always get it wrong, but I think they are very similar to the Lavinia brushes. I think the only difference is the Lavinia ones, they do different sizes. These are the 3/4. I don't actually think you can get these brushes anymore, unfortunately. I think they've stopped doing them. Right, I think let's just do a bit more there because it's still quite light in that area. There we go. I think maybe we'll leave it at that. And then I'm probably going to be spending most of the time hunting during this live, because I've got a pile of stamps that I'm pretty sure I think I want to use. And there seems to be tons here. So this is Organic Root. Again, I've had this for quite a while and I haven't really used it that much, but I do love it. It's one of them stamps that's quite handy to have, especially if you want to do, I think, cards like this. So I'm not going to stamp this sort of just down the bottom. I'm actually going to bring it sort of round slightly. I'm hoping the camera's not reflecting. It's so bright at the moment. But yeah, so I'm just using the Versafine Claire, and this is the Nocturne. And as I said, I'm just sort of going to follow that pencil line, and I'll probably go, no, maybe move it around a little bit because I want him stood on part of it. So we'll go about there, I think. So I'm just holding that in place. Hopefully I'm working on the screen, you know, so you can see. It's really hard to tell when I'm just recording a video because you've got nothing to sort of see yourself working. Right. There we go. I'm just going to clean that off. If I can find my little rag now. That away. Now I'm thinking I might actually stamp the little gnome first, just so that we know where we're sort of working, you know, so we can kind of work around him more. So I think I'll maybe go, if you're ever unsure about where to stamp things, what you can do is take the stamp off and just sort of hold it in place, hold the acetate in place over where you think you might want it. And you can always sort of move it around to see, you know, what looks best. Luckily, I think he does work quite well, more or less in the centre there. So we'll try and aim for that. So I've got a brand new ink pad here, so it should be nice and juicy. I'm hoping that I can stamp him okay like this. I usually use the stamping platform when I stamp like silhouette stamps. I just find it easier because then if you do need to go in a second time, then, you know, you can. So I'm just going to hold that in place for a minute and let that ink seep into the card. And that's actually stamped fine. Could have actually stamped him a little bit further up. I should maybe have done that. I think that's what I did on the last card that I done using this, what do you call it again, the root. I stamped it a little bit further up and then I done like a little horizon line, but it doesn't matter, I'm okay with it being there. Right, let's pop him away now. And then, what have we got here? So this is witch hazel. I might stamp one of these branches just so I'm sort of bringing it round a little bit more. Actually, do I want to do that yet? No, what I'm going to do is stamp these funny little things, if I can find the right stamp. I said I'm probably going to spend half of this live shuffling through various stamps. Here it is. So I'm going to stamp this little, I'm not actually sure what it's called. I think it is a type of sort of mushroom type thing, isn't it? And you usually find them at the base of a tree, I believe. But I'm just gonna sort of go for it and maybe stamp a couple here. Trying to think where we want them. Let's go one up here, I think. And then we'll do another one slightly further round. So I'm just trying to connect them up to the roots a little bit there. If they don't line up completely, it doesn't matter. I think like this one, it sort of looks like it's hovering a little bit. So what I might do is just grab, I'm just trying to look for the right pen in my pen pot, sorry. So I'm just grabbing a micron pen. And what I'm just going to do is bring that down so it looks like it's not floating in the air, that it is actually connected to something. And sort of fill that in a little bit. I might actually connect them up a bit like that. Might look a little bit better, maybe. Don't know if I've made it look worse, but still, we'll keep going and just see how it turns out. So again, I might add one sort of about there. And maybe one a bit further down, about there. Said I've got no clue what they're called, but it's one of the newer stamps, that one. So it's Silent Bloom. Right, so back to the witch hazel. So I'm going to use this branch here, and I said I just want to bring it round a little. Possibly not going to ink the whole of the stamp up because I don't want it going over that these nice little mushrooms. So I think maybe we'll go about there. I don't know if you can see, I haven't inked up the whole stem. I'm hoping that's kind of focusing on, and I'm in camera shot there. So, and then I'm just going to sort of line it up roughly. I've got a mark on my actual stamping block there, so it's making it difficult to see. Let's go about there, I think. And again, if that line doesn't quite, if there is a bit of a gap, it doesn't really matter because I can just get that fine liner pen and just sort of fill in the gap there. Yeah, so there's a tiny bit of a gap, not much. Might bring it down, and what you could even do is extend the branch line down here and right the way down so it sort of connects to that root a little bit. Again, just so it doesn't look like it's floating really. Right, what do we want to go with next? Do with some sort of branchy things for the top. I think maybe I'll use this. Yeah, we'll go for this one. So this is winter foliage. And I might stamp this little branch down here just to extend it a bit more. I don't want to bring it right round. I would like a bit of a gap. Obviously you could take it right round. There's nothing stopping you from doing that, but I just don't particularly want that. There we go, and we could even stamp a sort of branch. Oh, that's going to be too big. So what I'm going to do, just see if I can find a bit of scrap paper. A tiny bit of scrap card there. What I might do is just cover that up a bit and just bring the branches out here a tiny bit. There we go. And then, as I said, I might try and add some foliage in now. So I'm going to grab my VersaFine Clairs. So I think we'll use Shady Lane for this. There we go. And I think we'll go for this little sprig here. It's rather cute. And I think we'll just randomly stamp them in on those branches. So just trying to connect them up slightly as we go along. It doesn't matter if there's a right gap between them, I guess, does it? I think on this you can just sort of keep stamping and fill those gaps in, really. You could also use there's quite a lot of sort of singular leaves and things out there. You could also use them. Or even use a combination and have some of the leaves and little sprigs. I don't think I pulled any of the leaves out, so I'm afraid I can't really show them. So I'm just going to keep stamping until I've sort of filled them branches and I'm happy with how it's looking. As you can see on this one, I've sort of gone over that branch, but if you just sort of stamp over it, you can sort of disguise that a little bit. There. So I'm literally just filling in as much as I can there. And you can even do a bit of secondary stamping and, you know, just to add a bit of sort of depth to the image. What I might do is just stamp off on my mat and then come back and stamp in again, just to fill in a few gaps. I think let's go in a bit more here, because there we go, it's looking a bit bare there, isn't it? At the moment it's looking very top heavy, but I will sort of fix that in a bit and bring out some more leaves, I think, from this tree root down here. I actually haven't got that many coming down the centre, so I might just fill that in a bit more. You could even come in with a second colour here and again, just to add a bit of depth. Right, what do we want to go with next? Just seeing what stamps we've got here. Let's stamp a few more toadstools, I think. I think we need some more shrooms around. Maybe, oh look, I didn't do any there, did I? Let's add a few more there. Making sure that that's the right colour. Don't think I'm going to add too many here, because what I might do is add some ferns in, so she says, and then still keeps going in. Sometimes it's really hard to know when to stop, isn't it? Right, I think I'm going to leave that like that. Let's pop them. Was that a silent bloom? It must be, mustn't it? Winter, no, it was winter foliage, wasn't it? Hopefully I haven't got these mixed up. Right, so the mushrooms, let's stamp a few of these. Could maybe bring them up there a little bit. Let's do that. Let's pull that black out again. And I'm just sort of going to come in from somewhere here, really. I'm not too worried. I've ended up sort of joining them up, haven't I? Sometimes I think you have in your head roughly what it's going to look like, and then it ends up nothing like you imagined, does it? But I don't think it really matters too much. Right, let's pop that one back. Or do we want some that side as well? Actually, maybe we will stamp some this side, just so it's a bit more even. I'm just going to clean that stamp block off. I seem to have some green on there. Right, let's stamp, no, wrong colour. Let's get that away. Right, I'm just going to take my hoodie off because it's suddenly got very, very hot in here. I think the sun started to come out more this afternoon, so it suddenly got really warm. Right, and I'm going to place my bit of card here as well, because again, I don't think I've actually inked far enough down. Let's go back in. I don't want it too much coming over the roots too much. Right, I think we'll go about there. Clean and pop it away. I'm trying to put them away as I go, because otherwise I'll lose them. Right, and then I'm trying to think. I think we'll stamp a few of the little pots. So this is probably one of my favourite stamps. I use it so much. So this is flower pots, and I'm really upset because I've actually lost one of the stamps on this set, which is a bit frustrating. So I'm using this just because I want to bring in a bit of colour, really, sort of, you know, around. So this is like lavender, and I'm just going to stamp it in black. I know I just said I'm going to bring in some colour, but that will be sort of the last minute thing. I'm not going to be doing that just yet. Stamp a few there, I think. So one more. And I've put a nice inky spot up there. Not to worry, maybe if we stamp Some lavender look like it's coming out from behind it. Well, I've managed to cover that inky blotch up anyway. Let's go for some more lavender up here. I said at the moment I know it is just black, but I will add some colour right at the very end. Right. I think maybe I'll just add some grasses now and sort of leave it there, and then we'll add some colour. So when I say grasses, I mean ferns. So this is a woodland fern. So, and again, I'm just trying to figure out where I want them. I think I actually want that one facing that way at the moment. Yeah, that's the one I want. And it's sort of coming out from there. And again, I'm going to grab my piece of card. Where's my green? Shady Lane. Is that it? Shady Lane, yeah. So I'm just going to have some little sprigs of fern coming out from... Didn't stamp that one properly, so I'm going to go in again. There we go. I think actually I don't want them quite so vibrant, so what I might do is actually grab an oxide ink. What colour should we go for? Maybe a bundled sage, so it's not quite so bright. So it's a bit of a soft colour coming out here. That's better. So because this is quite a bit lighter, I'm not going to worry too much about masking off, because hopefully I can just sort of colour that, you know, colour over it. I might add a few darker ones in between. I hope I'm working in camera shot. I need to move it up, I think, a little bit. Right, yeah, so let's grab that smaller one and just stamp a few sort of this way, coming out here. As I said, I am going to add a few darker sprigs in there. Let's just clean that off and then go back in with that Shady Lane. And I'm just going to keep adding really until I'm sort of happy with how it looks. Let's go sort of there, and then we'll put some smaller ferns in here. I've given up with the paper. It's just getting on my nerves now. Right, yeah, I think we'll leave that. I want to add, I'm going to add just one more fern there. I feel like it needs one. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, I think. I think maybe I should have just stamped ferns here rather than those sprigs, but it's fine. Oh, where did that other stamp go? I had it just there, didn't I? No, I have lost it. Okay, I'm going to have a very good look at that. This is what I said. I'm very good at losing stamps. But I'll have a look for that in just a minute. I'll leave that one out so that I know to look for it. Oh, there it is, look, underneath my piece of card. And that's how things go missing. Right, what else do we want to do? I might add a few flowers coming down here at the top. Let's do that. I don't know, I don't think I pulled that stamp out, but it is in the box just next to me, so I'm just having a little look. No, I didn't pull it out. I have got it in my box here, so let me just have a little rummage and see if I can find it. Didn't think I was going to add this, but looking at it, I really want to. Don't tell me I can't find it now. There it is. So, and it's typical, I haven't got the name of this one written on it, I'm afraid, but there's two lovely, it's like a thistle-y type plant, and no idea what to call that one. I'm not very up on plants, I do apologise. Now I'm only going to use sort of one of these plant sprigs here. I don't really want to be applying ink to the whole thing. I'm just grabbing some ink out. So I've got Very Perry here and Monarch. And I don't think you're going to be able to see very well what I'm inking up. Or maybe you will. So if you get it on this larger one, I'm just taking that ink off. So I've literally only applied ink to the flowers on this one here. And then I'm going to turn it upside down. And I'm going to do it as if it's like flowers hanging from above. I don't know, what do you call it, like a, I don't know, could it be a wisteria plant hanging down? I don't know. As I said, I'm not very up on my plants at all, so I could have it all very wrong. And then just add a few sort of coming down from the top. Said I'm doing this in the lighter colour at the moment, and then I'll maybe add a few darker ones in it as well. Yeah, I think I'll leave that with the lighter ones. So now I'm going to grab the Monarch, put some of these away, and again I'm just sort of using the corner here just to ink up that single flower. Let me hold a piece of white card and hopefully you can see. So I'm literally only inking up that one flower on there, and then I'm just going to stamp that in between the others. Again, I think it just creates a bit of depth in the card when you have sort of different colour tones. Where should we go with that one? Maybe over here somewhere. And then we'll perhaps stamp one more on the end. Perhaps about there. I do apologise about not knowing the name of that stamp. The thing is, I've taken all mine out of the packets and I never write on the back usually. I have started to now, but a lot of my older ones I haven't, so I'm going to have to go through and do all that. Right, what shall we do now? I feel like I need some grasses. I can't make a card without using these. These are this is my most used stamp, so it's orchid grass. And honestly, I literally use this on nearly everything. I think this and the fern and those pots, they are stamps that are used on everything. So I'm going to stamp this in not that one. Let me pull my ink pads down. So sand dune. So I'm going to go for a really light colour here. And I'm not even sort of too worried about stamping over things, because it is quite a nice light colour. So I'm just sort of stamping it in the back, you know, sort of behind everything. And you could even sort of bring it up there. There you go. I think we'll leave it there with that. Let's pop that away. I said that is my most used stamp. Definitely worth having that. Right, let's add some colour to it now. So I'm just going to turn around and grab my pencils. So I've got the Castle Arts pencils here. And I'm just going to pop a block behind me, because I'm working on quite a soft mat. Whenever I'm working with pencils, I always put something harder to work on. So let's just colour that root in. You could sort of watercolour it if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to pull these pencils out. I think because I've stamped sort of on top of things, the pencils will cover it just a little bit more. The only thing is I'm not very quick when it comes to colouring, so I do apologise. I'm taking too long here. Luckily, I guess there's not too much to it, is there? In terms of colouring, it is quite, you know, quite an easy thing to colour. I think maybe that will do for the root. Now, I think when I looked these mushroomy things up, I've got a feeling they were like almost going towards a sort of yellowy tone. Could have that completely wrong, but you know what? I'm going to make them like a yellowy tone, because I think when you're colouring things yourself, you can colour them whatever colour you want, can't you? Sorry, I'm just sharpening my pencil because it is a bit on the blunt side. So I guess you could sort of do them a browny yellow. But I'm going for sort of a nice bright yellow here. Right, there we go. And then I think, because we've gone sort of purpley flowers, I think I'm going to do the mushrooms a bit of a purpley tone. Maybe go a bit purpley. What colour is this? Let's go for cherry. I suppose going a bit closer to the red, isn't it? But maybe use two colour tones on here. I'm not too worried about the leaves overlapping from the top, because they could be in front of it, couldn't they? So yeah, there are more here. So you'll see I'm just sort of colouring the bottoms here. I will go in with a different colour, I think, for the top. I always like to use sort of two colour tones when I'm colouring things in, because again, it just gives things a bit more of a dimension. Didn't colour those bottom bits in there. Let's go for that. So purple deep. I'm just colouring the tops of those toadstools. There we go. And then I think that's everything coloured in with pencil, isn't it? What I'm now going to do is pop that to the side and grab some Sakura pens out. Let's go for that one. Need to test which ones are working. Let's get rid of that now. That one will do. Right. Now I am going to grab out some yellow paint for this because my yellow isn't very vibrant. I'm just going to open that over. So this is just multi-surface paint that I'm using here. Where's my ball tool gone? So I'm just grabbing a little ball tool because I'm going to add some flowers in here, a bit like, you know, when if you've seen some of my other videos, I tend to do like daisies in, you know, in the grassy area. So it's going to be a bit like that, but you know, I'm not going to do them white and yellow, I'm going to do them pink today. So this is very similar to what I did with the fox card the other day. But I thought I'd do it with the lovely little gnome here. So I'm just adding a few dots. I'm trying to do it so that I've got enough room to add some petals in between them. So let's add, no, I'm not going to add any more there. I think maybe, oh no, let's add one more there. Like I said, it's knowing when to stop, isn't it? Right, let's just clean that off. And then I'm just going to dry that, give it a quick blast with the heat gun. Now I will say I don't know if this is going to play the sound or not of the heat gun, but during my last live heat gun it looked like it was a magic heat gun and it wasn't picking up the sound. So I don't know if it's going to be a magic heat gun today or if you will actually hear it. Right, I think that should be enough. So as I said, I'm using a jelly roll pen. So this is rose coloured. And I'm then just going to literally draw in a few petals all around those yellow dots. When I say petals, they're only really like little lines. Or you could make them slightly rounder and sort of, you know, fatter petals. Depends what sort of look you're going for. But I'm just more or less doing little lines coming off them. So it's exactly the same as how I usually do the little daisies. But I'm just doing them in the branches instead. Even though you probably wouldn't get flowers like this up there, but you know, like I said, I think it's artistic license, isn't it? You can do what you want when you're creating it yourself. So I'll try and speed up on them now, and so that I'm not boring you too much. I've just got a few more to go. I think sometimes just adding little flowers like this yourself just sort of really finishes the card off. think we've got one more there to go. And that's that. And then, do you remember what I said about adding some colour in down here? I'm just using, this is, what colour is this? This is one of the metallic ones. It doesn't actually say a colour on this one. So it's just like a metallic purpley colour. In actual fact, that's not showing up very well. I might go back in with this one, so back on the rose. So, and I'm just sort of scribbling over really those sort of lavender. Probably wouldn't be a pinky colour, but even so, again, you can sort of colour it whatever colour you want, can't you? So I'm just scribbling over the black area there. And the black sort of creates a bit of a shadow. I'm going to bring that up, I think, on that elf, just so it's coming up over his leg. Right, I think that's more or less finished. Do you know what though? I think I might ground it a little bit here. Let me just dry that Sakura off. There we go. I might just grab my green brush. This is where I'm probably going to ruin it, but we'll hopefully not. I feel like it just needs a bit of green here, you know, as if it's sort of standing on grass. So just using a bit of paper there, again the same bit of card that I was using. There we go. I much prefer that. I think it sort of looks, let's bring it behind that mushroomy thing. Just darken it up a bit there. There we go. I think that's much better. I think that just sort of finishes it off. But yeah, and that is more or less the finished card. So let me just clean my mat a little bit with some water, and then I shall mount it onto some white card. I think my mat's quite inky, so I don't really want to get ink on the background there. Where's my card? It's still a bit wet, isn't it? So this is just a 6x6 card blank, and I'm literally just going to mount it directly onto that. I'm not going to mount it on anything else. I think because the edges are quite nice and dark on this, you know, you're sort of drawn in to the centre a bit with this. So where's my glue? So I'm just going to use some glue to stick this down. Oh, it needs unblocking. I've obviously left the cap off. I did have a little pin here which I might have to just push down and hopefully unclog that. There we go. I'm just going to hold that up to make sure it's straight. Yes, it is. And then just hold that in place. So, and there we have the finished card. So I didn't actually use all the stamps that I'd pulled out, but I'd rather pull them out and then I know that they're there. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. As I said, it's sort of going very similar to what I did with the fox. So instead of having the little gnome, I had a fox sat here and all the flowers around it. But I just really wanted to use him. I haven't used him for some time. I think this little figure is great for you know, people that love gardening and everything. But yeah, so that's the finished card. I will be back again very soon with another project. I have actually already got something lined up, so I'm hoping that I can record that perhaps tomorrow, and I'll load that up online as well. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be back again soon. Thanks everyone. Bye.